Well, I just know in the case of Youth Speaks, we started with one kid. It was me, and I had two friends working with me, and we found one kid and then another kid. And then those two kids got excited, and they told two other kids. And now we're doing things all over the country. And it really is, slowly but surely, an entire generation has taken pride in their voices and, are unafraid to speak, which is exciting. Because I think that's where it comes from. That's the leadership. One of the kids last night said he got really emotional watching the Obama speech because his mother was crying. And he ultimately wanted to get to that spot where he could be in that kind of position to make women like his mother cry just by speaking. And he said the first step to doing that is raising his hand in class and not being afraid to show that he maybe had the right answer.
He was wonderful. What was his name?
That was Brandon Santiago.
Brandon Santiago. I also did remember a line from there. Obama didn't spark a revolution. We did.
Yeah,
which is great because that ties back into, it's not, you can't just elect someone and expect, okay, now it's done.
Right.
Okay, we can send him off, the Messiah here.
Right, exactly.
It is what has been inspired, and I'm sure you've seen this, it must be, in Youth Speaks as a group with the new recent election, is they think they have a voice now. They feel they have a voice, and they're being represented and asked to step up, called to duty, so to speak, in a way that they want to speak out and watch what's going on and participate.
I think so. It's almost overnight. Kids want to be involved now, almost overnight. There was this sort of, the U.S. government, and now they're like, wow, the U.S. government.
How did that happen? Is that just by the election?
I think it's as much to do with something happened that they thought never could happen. They never thought a black man would be elected president, and look what happened. It's, I think for a lot of us, it's made us rethink a lot of things, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time. I think regardless of people's politics, it's just such an exciting time.
Absolutely. This is a live show. It's happening right now, right here on Market Street. You can call in if you'd like to ask a question or join in or maybe recite something for us. The number is 621-4473. I love this about last night. People's number one fear, do you know what it is? Public speaking. But you also said that people have a second fear. And why don't you go ahead and give us that little antidote?
Right, so the second fear is death, right? So the old joke is that at a funeral, you'd rather be lying in the casket than giving the eulogy, which is just crazy.
I don't know about that. I don't know. This one is from a 20-year-old from San Francisco, Brendan Santiago. We mentioned him before. Is dealing with substance abuse, I believe crack, cocaine. One of his lines were, "My city has secrets hidden behind organic grocery stores." I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's true. You paint a picture of San Francisco and we see what we want to see through our filter. But we have youth here that do see things that we don't know. For instance, my daughters have two, 20 and 18. I bought him a red sweat jacket last year, and my youngest says, "Great, I can't wear this."
Right.
And I'm like, "Why not? Red's a good color on you. You're a winter." And she's like, "No." She's like, "I can't ride this in the mission. You want me to get shot?"
Yeah.
And I looked at her, and she wasn't kidding. And, the colors and the gangs, and it's not the same city as when I grew up. I love the city dearly, but it's changed, and they go through a lot of very adult situations.
Absolutely. It's interesting because these kids write so much from an experiential understanding of pain and suffering. And one of the young women last night, Erica Cespedes-Kent, talked about how she was wounded and she was attracted to other young people who were wounded. There's a lot of kids are going through a lot of tough things. I think one of the things that we do is we hold up a mirror. The kids hold up a mirror back to the society that we adults have given them. That they don't just form in isolation, that they're developing out of what we've left behind. And sometimes we don't want to see what's in that mirror because they give it back to us and it's so raw and ugly. But ultimately that power to be that mirror, that's what's going to save this country. That's what's going to save the nation, because these kids are revealing it, and I think they're revealing it in some ways to put an end to it, so that their kids hold up the mirror and it looks a little bit brighter. That's the optimistic take, at least, right? That's the Obama optimistic take.
That's survival. It's survival, because if we don't fix things, where are we headed? And
it's like you said, it's so easy to turn on television or go outside, and San Francisco is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's 80 degrees in the mid-November. But then you remember that, there are kids right now who are really struggling, and it's not for their own, kids make a lot of mistakes. It's not like, the kids don't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Because they need to step up and, be responsible, but they're put in a lot of situations that have nothing to do with they didn't make those situations. They're just in them, and they're trying to figure out the best way to deal with them.
And in speaking to parents, when they do come out, I don't want to say out of the closet, when they come out of where do they come out? Into their own voice. Do how do the parents react to a kid that might have been quiet and very, very shy and inhibited in a lot of ways, to be outspoken, to be able to speak their mind, and it must be a heck of a transformation for the parents to go through too.
It is, and a lot of parents will say something to us, and teachers too, and a parent will say, "I didn't even know my kid was going through that or thinking about it." There'll be teachers who will come up to us and say, "That kid has not said a word in my English class all year. In fact, is failing and was just totally brilliant on stage." I just think, good or bad, we're seeing the real person, and that's, I think, really important. We have to see the real people. And that's what poetry allows us to do. I think poetry allows you to see the real person behind the poem.
Were you a poet when you were a kid?
Yeah, but it was so different back then. I mean, poetry for a long time was not what it is now. All of a sudden, it's popular amongst kids. When I was there, it was, So, yeah, I wrote a lot when I was young, but it was more stories. And I was in New York during the birth of hip-hop, so, we were trying to be little MCs, but...
Cool. What part of New York are you from?
I'm from a place called White Plains, which is just a little bit outside of the city.
And did you get to go into Manhattan?
Yeah, my father lives in Manhattan, so I was there all the time. And
excellent.
Yeah.
That's a very different vibe. But I don't know, similar in a lot of ways to San Francisco. But my kids, I believe when I took them there, they said that New York was like Disney World and San Francisco is like Disneyland. So it's like a mini version with a little more light.
I love San Francisco. I mean, I love the Bay Area. New York is great, and there's no city like it in the world, but there's no place like the Bay Area either. I mean, the Bay Area is great. And I actually don't think, I started YouthSpeaks here, and I don't think it could have started anywhere but here, because the arts are okay here. Even, back then, I mean, now YouthSpeaks has done a lot to make poetry cool, but it's okay to be artsy. It's okay to be creative in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm. I think it's mandatory.
You know what I mean? And so for kids from, deep Hunters Point or deep East Oakland or deep in the Mission, for that to be cool, for them to be artistic, I mean, that's a special thing. I don't think you get that so much in New York.
Do you think that the kids, when they go home to their areas, get harassed for what they do?
I think less and less, and I think that the kids are impressive. I mean, it's hard not to be impressed by what these young people are talking about. A lot of young people, and Brandon talked about it a little bit, but a lot of young people are still challenged by it's uncool to be smart. And so you can't get good grades because then you're being a certain kind of person. But maybe, Obama is maybe changing that. Obama is maybe showing that it's okay to be smart. You can still be cool and be smart. You know what I mean? And I think that's really important for young kids, all whom have brains.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To pursue the power of their brains. I mean, that's
Sharpen
a good thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sharpen your tools.
Just because this past president didn't do that too much doesn't mean we all have to give up on our brains.
This is true. That's a whole nother show. Now, they've been able to perform for Robert Redford, Desmond Tutu, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, and the Mayor's Summit as well.
Yeah.
How is our mayor holding up? Does he know about YouthSpeaks?
He does, and actually he's come and spoken at some of our shows, and he's a big fan, and there were a couple of people from his office last night. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, there are some people who are sort of repelled by what we do. I imagine soon we'll get a call from Bill O'Reilly someday, but for the most part, it's hard not to listen to these kids and be blown away.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? I mean, it's hard not to be.
Now, did Gavin do a poem?
He didn't. He pretended he was going to, but he didn't.
Oh, really? Okay. That I would have liked to see.
Yep.
What we were able to see last night was a sneak preview
Yeah.
of an HBO special.
The show's called Brave New Voices, and it's going to air over 7 episodes in the spring. It's actually primetime TV. It's going to be amazing. But for a few years, I was sort of knocking on doors all over Hollywood, saying, look, this is the most exciting thing around, that kids from all over the country are writing, and if you really want to show the changing demographics of the country, 21st century American voice, this is the way to do it. We can make it like Hoop Dreams, but sort of deeper. We can make it like Spellbound, but cooler. And they finally bought. So we filmed people from all over the country getting ready to go to our big National Youth Poetry Slam, which was in Washington, D.C., and it's really going to be exciting. Yeah. And it's being directed by Stan Lathan, who's the TV partner of Russell Simmons, who was, the president of Def Jam.
Excellent.
So it's going to be really exciting, and HBO is going to make it a primetime show. So
the kids must be psyched.
The kids are psyched. They're a little nervous, but I think they're pretty much psyched.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure. You rock. Thank you for being on the show. And as we're talking about change, that was the theme of the evening.
That was the theme
last night. And one thing I believe it was that you said was change is not always immediate, and that it's a spark. It's something that starts, and people, I think, today are in such a push-button mentality, want it now, want it now, want it now, that I think that it's important to know that it takes time to pull this out and to develop this and to be able to change your life in whatever form you want to do that.